Welcome back to another episode of the Casey Campbell Podcast. Casey Campbell with you. Of course, we're pleased to be joined by Northville boys basketball coach. Of course, that is Todd Sander. How's it going, Todd?
Great, Casey. Thanks for the opportunity to spend a few minutes talking some hoops. I know we are anxiously awaiting the start of our season next week. I think today is practice number 11 for us when you count tryouts, and we were crazy and did a few two-a-days over the holiday weekend a little bit to make up for the later start. But our guys have been they've been in the gym really since school started and really since we finished playing our June schedule. We've had a really dedicated core of guys that it was extremely optimistic, but just chomping at the bit to get going now. So we are going, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's ready to see for the season to start. And you kind of mentioned it a little bit. Of course, the MHSA kind of moved the start time back for boys and girls and girls as well. Overall, how are you guys adjusting to all those changes?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a little bit different because when you've been doing it for a while like us, you kind of had a calendar that you worked off of every year that certainly you might tweak it. But all of a sudden, when you're a week later, right, because they delayed the start of practice, but the games are starting at the exact same time. So we're fighting our way through it. We've got a pretty experienced group, so I think that's helped shorten the learning curve, and our seniors are doing a great job bringing our sophomore and juniors along with them too.
For sure. So let's talk about some of the guys that are returning for the Mustangs and some of the guys that maybe to watch out for as well.
Yeah, we're fortunate. We could have three starters back. Nolan Thompson was a starter for us last year. He's nursing a football injury, so he'll be out for the next 3 or 4 weeks probably. We're hoping to have him back near the end of December, and then we return Carlos Adamson, who started every game as a sophomore for us last year, and Max Anderson, who also was a football player, was starting by the end of our year last year too. So we've got two official guys with Nolan being hurt, but we were blessed, at least from a coach's standpoint, that we kind of had point guard A and B last year, 1A and 1B. So even though Nolan is out, his counterpart, Cullen Foley, has stepped right in. And like I said, they basically ended up splitting time last year. Nolan was often the guy that started, and then just kind of depending on the game, each of them would finish. But then we have a really skilled junior, Justin Wang, that has just really come on and has played a ton of hoops over the last 2 years. Has good size. He's about 6'4", and he can score the ball. So we're excited with what he and Carlos can do together. We think we've got a lot of different offensive options. Guys like Max are solid, and Angelo Rodriguez, had a great football year. 7 of our guys were members of our football team, and that's certainly the most in recent memory. So we're going to be leaning on those guys to kind of pick up where they left off, because they had a fantastic season as well.
Well, since we're on the topic of football, obviously I wouldn't be remiss to ask you. In 2008, the 3 of the biggest hires to ever come through Northville were hired in that year. Of course, Matt Laddick, you, and Todd Gudith. Of course, Laddick, the football coach. Of course, you coach boys basketball, and of course, we had Todd Gudith on last week, the girls basketball.
For sure.
Obviously, yeah. The news a few weeks ago that Coach Laddick stepped down as the head coach, kind of like you all came in together.
Yeah, I was a little bit surprised to hear that news. Coach has had a great run, has certainly earned some time to slow down a little bit. But yeah, we all came in together. It's interesting. I think I was 27 when they hired me, and you think you know everything, and it doesn't take you very long to find out you really don't know much of anything when you first get started. But we've been blessed with a great staff from the basketball standpoint, but also from a athletic department standpoint with just a lot of longevity. I mean, our baseball coach, John Kostreva, has been here longer than 15. So we've had great continuity, and I've been now fortunate to work with two just wonderful ADs, both Brian. So they're always supportive of what we're trying to do.
Of course, Brian Slomowski, the current AD, and of course, Brian Mazie, the one that who is now the commissioner of the KLAA. So
exactly. Yeah.
And also, you talked about KLAA Media Day last night. All 32 teams, boys and girls, were at Monday night at Northville High School. Obviously, I had some prior commitments, so I couldn't be there. But overall, how do you think that event went? It was pretty good. And I know the KLAA, another thing that kind of started by Brian Mazie, kind of leading in this the Media Day kind of thing.
Yeah, no, I thought it was great. I know football's done it for a number of years. This is the first. We had planned to bring it to hoops a couple years ago, and then COVID and all of the craziness kind of set that back a few years. But no, it was great. It was good to see all of the coaches. Each of us had a couple players with us, that were available to speak. And our league doesn't get a ton of press, but I mean, when you look at the number of district champions and regional champions and teams that make deep runs. I mean, Novi a couple years ago went to the final game or final four. Howell's been there. To me, it's a little bit of an underrated basketball conference. So I think it was good for the league to finally get some of the due, that it's been owed for sure.
So let's talk about, while we're on the subject of the league, let's kind of talk about, the division with the KLA West. You saw all the teams that were there. Everyone was there, and they've kind of, it's going to be on the west side of things. It's anyone's division.
Yeah, there's no easy nights. All good coaches, certainly in the whole league, but definitely in the West, so every time you play somebody, there's so much film out there now. Now you play everybody home and home. So, by the time you get through the second time through the division, everybody pretty much knows what everybody's doing. But no, there are no easy games. I think we have a chance to do something well. Canton obviously returns a lot of guys. Plymouth, has a new coach and it's going to kind of reload with what they have. But Brighton, I think, is going to be sneaky good, and you can't discount anybody, right? Rivalry. There's so many natural rivalry games, which those are always interesting. And typically, even though it's cliche, it doesn't matter what the records are in those games, because there's just a lot of great rivalry nights too.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you look at Brighton, Howell, Heartland, Novi, Northville, and then of course you got the park rivalries. On the east side, you have all the, the rivalries between the Livonia schools, the two Dearborn schools, and the two Wayne Westland schools as well. So it does bring and obviously with Belleville too, you have a lot of good matchups and surrounding the league so far, and it's gonna be another solid year.
Absolutely. No, definitely. It's with the state adding the games, we've got 7 games in December that we scheduled a pretty intentional, challenging schedule, just thinking we have a chance to be decent this year. So we are hoping to be battle tested. I have no idea what our record's going to be once we get through the challenging month of December, but we're hoping that it'll get us ready for the meat grinder that is the West Division, when we start just after the first of the year. I think we open with Heartland, I believe. So
let's talk about that non-conference schedule you have. I know it's in December. It's a stacked schedule. I know that you got a lot of opponents on there, and also a big home opener as well on the 16th with the girls and boys with Catholic Central coming to face you guys, and of course, if you watched the interview with Todd Gudith last week, he also mentioned that Mercy will be coming to face the girls as well.
Yeah, so we've got, like I said, we've got 7 games in December. We open with Skyline next week, who we played them a bunch in the summer. They beat us up in the opener last year. They've got a bunch of guys back. Potts is a really, really good player for them. And then we go up to Lakeland, and then we go to Franklin. And then we have, like you said, we have CC at home, which, they have had a great run the last few years. I know they had some player turnover, but got some new guys. That's always an emotional game for our people. It's interesting. They're back in our district this year. They were moved out last year. They weren't in our district, but they're back in it this year. So we'll be getting an early look at each other, because we both want to be able to make some noise. And then we're doing a few just kind of different showcase and scheduling events at the school with the added games. So we play CC on Friday the 16th, and then we're hosting 5 different games the very next night on Saturday the 17th. Some of the best teams from the state are going to be playing in our gym. We play Southfield that day. North Farmington's going to be here, Cass and Renaissance and Depsa and Canton. So we've got a great lineup of games that we're going to be doing that. And then we are playing in the North Farmington Shot Clock event, which we got matched up with Ann Arbor Huron. And then for our holiday tournament, which has typically every other year been a 2-day event, we kind of modified that a little bit, where it's going to be more of like a 1-day showcase. But Traverse City is coming down, so we'll be playing Traverse City Central in middle of December, or between Christmas and New Year's in our gym. So we're excited about that.
A lot of games during the week of Christmas and between New Year's before conference play starts. So
yeah, there is. Yep.
Let's talk about your team for a second. Where do you think you guys are at right now? What do you, because obviously I don't know if you've had a scrimmage yet, or you've had plenty of practices to look at them.
Yeah,
Overall,
we're going to scrimmage later this week. So we've not had a true formal scrimmage yet, but no, it's we've got some with Carlos being up as a sophomore and he was on the JV as a freshman. So this is really the first time that he's played with his own peer group. So we're going through a little bit of a learning curve because we've got some guys a bunch that have played together, but now you're melding different classes. So to me, there can always be a little bit of a learning curve with that. I think our defense is a little bit ahead of our offense right now, but I think that's pretty common. We really put a big focus on the defensive end of the floor, and we think we're going to be able to do a few different things on that side in terms of change of the pace, and we might be able to pressure some. But no, we've had tremendous energy in practice. We haven't had a day off now in a number of days. So our guys they're dragging a little bit, but we're balancing getting in shape at the same time of getting all of our offense and different things in. Like I said, it's a little bit faster now. So, we'll play Tuesday and then get a good evaluation for where we're at. And then we'll have 5 or 6 practices to get ready before our next game.
yeah, for sure. And of course, what do you want? And of course, coming out of the game, of course, you start off with some fire with Skyline. Overall, what do you want to see out of your team in these first few games?
Yeah, I mean, more than anything else, we want to compete. And rebounding to me is going to be key for us because we are not huge. So we're going to be asking our guards to rebound the ball. And it's interesting. You look at our team and there's not a lot of separation in terms of guys' size. So I think that's a little bit misleading because our guards are pretty darn good size and solid and strong. So we want to compete. We want to play the right way on offense. We want to play unselfish. We want to get used to playing with each other. And we've got a lot of different guys who can put the ball in the hoop. So, it's up to us to put them in the right spots to where we're doing the right thing to put them in the best chance to succeed.
Absolutely. All right. Well, Todd Sander, thank you so much for coming on and talking with us, and best of luck to the Mustangs this year.
Cool, Casey. You have a good one.